Hi BookTube, Chelsea the Reading Outlaw here to do a review of The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Adia. I am trying to get better about doing reviews on my channel. I read a lot of books, I mention a lot of books as I do wrap-ups and tags and other videos, but I'm not the greatest at doing actual reviews of books after I finish them, so that's something I'm trying to get better at. Bear with me if I'm a little rusty as I try and do more and more of these videos. Hopefully that will improve over time. Like I said, today I'm here to review The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Adia, which I listened to on audiobook through the Scribd subscription service. I thought that this book was absolutely wonderful. To kind of start with a plot summary, it is about Scheherazade who opens the book by spending the night with the Caliph of Khorasan, which is the king of this kingdom. He has so far up to now, when we meet him, been marrying and then murdering brides nightly. He marries them in the evening and then murders them come dawn. And Scheherazade's best friend is one of the women that this happens to before she goes and decides to marry him. She marries him in order to get revenge for her best friend, but she manages to survive the night. She does this by telling him stories, and because she survives the night, she is kind of taken to be the bride of Khorasan, the new bride of Khorasan, and it's just about her reconciling that and continuing to, get to know the Caliph, and she becomes more and more conflicted because of, originally she's there to kind of get answers from and bring down this man who she just considers to be this horrible killing machine and who has murdered her best friend. And a lot of the book is her reckoning with that knowledge of him expanding and her feelings towards him changing and shifting as she gets to know more about him. We, as the readers, get to know more about him. He starts out very cold and then slowly kind of opens up. It's based on, if you couldn't already tell from the description, the Thousand and One Nights, the Arabian Nights tales, Aladdin, the King of Thieves, all of those good ones. It's one of my favorite fairy tale books. If you have not heard me say that before on my channel, now you have. It's one of my favorite fairy tale collections because I think it's kind of the first book that's about the power of stories. And a lot of this book also kind of has to do with that same thing, both the power of stories in terms of the stories that Scheherazade tells the Khorasan to stay alive and to placate him and to make him feel better about things, as well as the stories that he tells her and that he tells his people in terms of lies. It's interesting to look at lies in terms of just stories that we tell other people for convenience. That's kind of an interesting theme that gets played out in this story. I think that a lot of the reason that I enjoyed this story so much is because the language is so grand and so luxurious and so warm. There is a quality to the narration when it's spoken that just gives it kind of this languidness, and I just think it was a perfect book for driving to and from work on the warm summer days. I did think the story was good. It was, slightly predictable. Obviously, if you read A Thousand and One Nights, you kind of know the basic outlines of what happens, but this riffs on that in a lot of ways that are new to the original material, but aren't necessarily like really new to, I think, a lot of like kind of young adult historical romances or even some of the contemporary romances. There's a lot of, Scheherazade kind of admonishing herself for feeling this way about someone that logically she knows she probably shouldn't feel this way about. There's a number of scenes in which she kind of starts to come to defense of the Caliph, and that obviously kind of starts to open her eyes that maybe he's not all bad. Maybe she didn't give him a fair chance. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I will say I wasn't necessarily crazy about the reason why the Caliph had to do what he continued to have to do. It was an interesting explanation. I just didn't, for some reason, it didn't really jive with me. I didn't really enjoy it. When they told me what it was, I just kind of felt like wah wah, like sad trombone. That didn't quite give me the impact that I was hoping for. But the book itself is really good. It's part of at least a duology, possibly a series. I know that there's more coming out. It definitely left on a cliffhanger because things are happening. I did think that the way it kind of wrapped up this story, but also left endings open to the next story, was really well done. That's something that can be mishandled a lot, especially in young adult stuff. Especially in stuff that's not necessarily supposed to be a trilogy. I think that I'm okay with this one being expanded into more books. I think that it deserves more books to tell the story it needs to tell. Granted, that's just me saying this now. I'll let you know after I read the second one if it really needed to continue or if maybe they just could have wrapped it up in the first one. But yes, I would most definitely get your hands on this. In terms of the audiobook, I really, really liked the narrator. This book is obviously set in the Middle East, and there are a number of Arabic words and phrases that I thought that the narrator handled very well. She handled them with an accent that indicated that I'm assuming in the printed book those words were most likely italicized. She also increased her inflection on certain Arabic phrases and words in a way that I thought made the book genuine to the culture but wasn't distracting or I felt mocking in any way. I also thought as a female narrator, she did a very good job handling the fact that there are a lot of dudes in this book, and sometimes that's something that female narrators I've noticed don't always do the best in terms of handling those distinctions, but I thought that she did a really good job kind of distinguishing between everybody and making it so that it was very easy to follow along. I know a lot of people who do audiobooks say that they can't do fiction because it's harder to follow along with the plot, but I found that in this book that really was not the case, both because of the way the plot moves along and also because of the really good characterization that both Renee Adia did in her writing and also that the reader did in the vocalization. Those were my thoughts. I guess I could probably tell you guys how many stars I gave it. I ended up giving it a 4-star book because I loved it. It's not a 5-star book. I wasn't crazy about it. Like I said, well, I was crazy about it, but the plot itself was, like I said, I felt kind of predictable, not exactly super revolutionary or something I couldn't have predicted going in. But it does get a solid 4 stars. I really, really enjoyed listening to it. Like I said, the language was absolutely beautiful. So if that's something that you like in books or are looking for more in your books, then please definitely do pick up The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Adia. Those are my thoughts. Let me know down below if you read it or if you listened to it and what you thought. I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys. Let me know what you're picking up on audio this week, this month, in the near future, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you. As always, comment, subscribe, like, and I will see you guys around the internet. Bye.